Hi everybody, thank you for joining me today at Lila's Best Eats. I hope everyone's doing well. If you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for your subscription. I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed, but you enjoy the content that I'm pushing out, then what are you waiting for? Don't be shy. Click that like, share, and subscribe. Tap that notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload any of my delicious cooking content. Now, let's get into today's video. Let's get to doing what I do best. Let's get to doing it right. Alright guys, let's get to doing it right. For my easy guacamole, you'll need 3 large Hass avocados, a half teaspoon and 1 tablespoon measuring spoon, some cilantro, red onion, garlic, lime, Roma tomatoes, black pepper, garlic powder, and sea salt. Okay, we need to get our avocados prepped for our guacamole. Using a sharp knife, let's first start by cutting all 3 avocados in half. Then, we'll remove the large seed from each of the sliced avocados. Once the seeds have been removed from all of the avocados, we can then use a large spoon to scoop the flesh out into a large bowl. To scoop out the flesh, just simply place the back of the spoon against the skin of the avocado, then rotate the spoon in between the flesh and the skin, and that's it. I'm just going to continue removing the flesh from the remaining avocados, and then I'll be back to show you guys the next steps. Alright guys, let's get started with the next steps of making my easy guacamole. We're going to begin first with finely mincing both the leaves and the stems from this bunch of fresh cilantro. And whenever I use cilantro in any of my recipes, you guys, I always like to include the stems because that's where the pungent flavor profile of cilantro comes from. If you're someone who doesn't prefer a strong flavor of cilantro in your guacamole, then you can always feel free to omit the stems and just use only the leaves. After we're done mincing the cilantro, we can measure out 3 full tablespoons and add them directly into the bowl with the avocados. But be sure when you're measuring out the cilantro that you don't pack it into the measuring spoon, otherwise your measurements will not be accurate. Go ahead and measure out the final tablespoon, and then we'll move on to mincing the red onion. Here's a helpful hint for those of you who get a little teary-eyed whenever you cut into an onion. Just simply chill the onion for about 30 minutes, then cut the onion in half, leaving the root intact, and that should help reduce those teary eyes. So let's go ahead and begin slicing a couple of slices of this red onion, about 3 to be exact, and then we can begin removing the outer layer and the first few layers along with the white center part of the onion before we commence to finely mincing this red onion the same as we did with the cilantro. Stack the slices on top of one another, then cut the slices in half and begin the mincing process. Mince the red onion as finely as possible so you don't end up with chunky pieces in your guacamole. Then next we're going to measure out exactly 3 tablespoons of the finely minced onion and add it directly into the bowl with the other previous ingredients. And just like with the cilantro, you want to make sure that you don't pack the onion into the measuring spoon because you want to make sure you end up with accurate measurements. So measure out the final tablespoon and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, next up are the 2 cloves of garlic. With a large knife in the heel of your hand, gently smash the garlic clove. By applying this method, it makes it much easier to remove the skin from the garlic. Apply this step to both cloves of garlic, and then once we have removed the skin, we'll move on to the mincing process. Alright, now that we've removed the skin from both of our garlic cloves, we can begin our finely mincing process, just as we did with the cilantro and the red onion. We're going to finely mince this garlic and get it right into the bowl along with the other ingredients. Finally, we can begin preparing our last vegetable for our guacamole, which are our Roma tomatoes. To prep the tomatoes for dicing, simply cut all 4 sides of the tomato, then remove the flesh with either your knife or your finger. The reason we want to remove the flesh is because we don't want to end up with a watery guacamole. Okay guys, I'm going to apply the same steps to the second tomato as I did with the first tomato, and I'm going to cut all 4 sides and remove the flesh to ensure we don't end up with a watery guacamole. Then once I have removed the flesh from the second tomato, I'm going to move on to the dicing process. Okay guys, now that we've removed the flesh from both tomatoes, we can go ahead and prepare to dice it. Cut the tomato lengthwise, then turn the tomato and begin to dice it. Dice the tomato not too large or too small. Make sure that you dice it large enough so that the bits of tomato can be seen throughout the guacamole. After you're done dicing the tomatoes, just dump them right into the bowl. And if you don't want to use all the tomatoes, that's fine. Use whatever amount you prefer. Next, grab your lime and with the palm and heel of your hand, apply pressure and roll the lime back and forth several times to soften it. I find that when you apply this method, it not only softens the skin, but it also makes it much easier to squeeze out the juice. Then next, we're going to slice the softened lime in half and squeeze the juice of that lime directly into the bowl with the other ingredients. The reason I didn't squeeze the juice into my hand to prevent any seeds from falling into the guacamole is simply because there weren't any seeds in the lime. So just be careful when you cut the lime to look for any seeds first. Okay guys, we're at the final stretch of making my easy guacamole. Let's first start off by measuring out a half teaspoon of sea salt and getting that right into the bowl. Then add a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And finally, go ahead and sprinkle in some black pepper, and that will complete the last of our seasonings. In this final step, I'm going to use my meat chopper to break down the avocados and blend my guacamole. And I chose this tool in particular, you guys, because it won't smash the avocados into mush. Instead, it will leave the guacamole with a more chunky texture, which I prefer. Then once you're done smashing all of the ingredients, this is how your guacamole should look. Pair the guacamole with your favorite chips and enjoy. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share my content, let people know that Lila's Best Eats is always doing it right. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you again next time.